Welcome back to the show. Today, we're diving into Trump's approval map as of July 2025. Polling shows he's riding high in 21 states, especially out west and in the deep south. What's your take on this regional stronghold, Jamie?
It's pretty fascinating. States like Wyoming and West Virginia, where he's up by 44% and 36% respectively, are practically Trump country. These are areas where his policies align tightly with local economies, like coal and oil.
That's a good point. And even in states that don't adore him, his approval rarely dips below 25%. For a figure as polarizing as Trump, that's a remarkably high floor. How does this loyal base keep him politically afloat?
It's almost like he's built political Teflon. Even in states that lean blue, there's a core contingent that sticks with him, rain or shine. That's a strategic asset for any campaign, especially in a volatile election cycle.
Let's zero in on those strongholds. Why is Trump so popular in the Mountain West and Deep South? Is it just about the policies, or is there a deeper cultural connection at play?
It's definitely both. Economically, these states benefit from fossil fuel expansion and deregulation. Culturally, Trump's messaging resonates with rural and working-class voters who feel ignored by coastal elites.
Makes sense. And when you look at the numbers, it's staggering approval ratings above 60% in some places. Are there any historical parallels to this kind of regional loyalty in American politics?
Absolutely. Think of the Solid South in the early 20th century for Democrats. Now, it's almost a mirror image, with Trump and Republicans dominating. It's a realignment that's been building for decades.
You mentioned Trump's political Teflon earlier. Even in hostile territory, he never drops below 25% approval. How does this compare to past presidents' support in their toughest states?
It's impressive. For context, Obama sometimes dipped below 20% in deep red states. Trump's ability to maintain a quarter of voters everywhere means he's never truly out of the game, even in blue states like California.
So even when news cycles are brutal scandals, indictments, you name it's got a floor. Does this give his campaign more freedom to take risks that might alienate the middle?
To some extent, yes. It's like having a financial safety net. He can push bold messaging, knowing his core supporters won't bail, but it also sets a ceiling if he can't broaden appeal.
Let's talk about the flip side, those 29 states with net negative approval. Urban powerhouses like California and New York have Trump languishing in the 30-40% range. What's fueling this urban and coastal resistance?
It's a cocktail of factors. Demographics, education levels, and policy backlash all play roles. Cities tend to be more diverse and globalized, so Trump's nationalist rhetoric and immigration crackdowns really don't land well.
So when he touts deregulation or the big beautiful bill, it just doesn't resonate in San Francisco or Manhattan. Is polarization getting worse, or is this just the new normal?
Honestly, we're seeing record levels of polarization. The Pew Research Center reported in 2024 that partisan gaps on issues like immigration and climate are at historic highs. The map really visualizes that divide.
Speaking of polarization, Trump's approval dips are often linked to specific policies. The big beautiful bill and harsh immigration enforcement seem to have sparked real backlash. How significant is this effect?
It's huge. In swing states like Michigan and Pennsylvania, his numbers dropped by 7-10 points after the bill passed. People worried about economic uncertainty and healthcare cuts, and it showed up in the polls almost overnight.
That's a steep drop. Are these dips temporary, or do they signal lasting damage to Trump's coalition in those states?
Some of it is knee-jerk reaction, but prolonged economic volatility or unpopular policies can entrench negative views. University of Michigan's 2025 survey found approval rebounds only if the economy improves quickly.
Let's pivot to the battlegrounds. Trump's approval hovers near 50% in places like Arizona, Georgia, and Nevada. How does this map provide a strategic playbook for his campaign?
It's like having a GPS for where to spend ad dollars and send surrogates. When approval is close to 50%, a small nudge can tip the state. Campaigns will micro-target messaging based on these numbers, even down to specific counties.
So, it's not just about national narratives, but hyper-local appeals. Are there examples of this working in past elections?
Definitely. In 2020, Biden's team zeroed in on suburban women in Arizona and flipped the state. Trump's map gives him the same kind of granular data for 2025 targeting.
Speaking of messaging, Trump is famous for reframing opposition as proof he's shaking up the system. Can he use disapproval in blue states to energize his rural and working class supporters?
Absolutely. He often paints resistance as coastal elites versus real America. This underdog narrative can actually increase turnout in places where voters feel left behind by national trends.
Almost a political judo move using your opponent's strength against them. Are there risks to leaning too hard on this divide?
There's always a danger of alienating moderates. But as long as Trump keeps the message focused on economic populism, he can thread that needle. It's a tightrope, but one he's walked before.
Given the approval slumps in key states, do you think Trump will recalibrate his policies or messaging to win back support? Or is he more likely to double down?
I think we'll see some tactical pivots, maybe softer rhetoric on healthcare, or a new jobs initiative. But don't expect a full 180. The base wants consistency, but swing voters demand flexibility. It's a balancing act.
Could you see a scenario where he surprises everyone with a centrist move just to shake up the race?
It's possible, especially if polling shows he's losing ground fast. Remember when he floated infrastructure deals in 2017? Sometimes he'll toss out a wild card just to change the conversation.
But here's the challenge: polarization is so entrenched. Can Trump realistically expand his coalition at this point? Or is he locked into playing defense?
It's tough. The red-blue divide is almost geographical now. Swing voters are fewer and harder to reach. A 2025 Gallup survey found just 6% of Americans consider themselves true independents.
So the traditional pivot to the center strategy might not work anymore?
Exactly. In today's climate, campaigns often focus on mobilizing their base rather than persuasion. But if economic conditions shift, even a small swing could be decisive in close states.
Let's wrap up with the wildcard's economic shocks and protest movements. The 4th of July saw nationwide demonstrations against Trump's policies. How much do these factors threaten his approval ratings?
They're a real risk. Approval ratings are closely tied to pocketbook issues. If tariffs or healthcare cuts bite hard, or if protests gain momentum, we could see rapid erosion in those swing states.
So, if inflation spikes or unemployment rises, that 25% floor could start to crack?
Definitely. History shows that even the most loyal political bases can erode if economic pain is sharp and sustained. Just ask George H.W. Bush after the 1990 recession.